We are going to upload this to YouTube so that you're able to view it later if you would wish. You're also welcome to push this along to all your friends. If you want to sit around the fireplace at night, although I wouldn't do that this time of year. If you want to sit on the couch at night and pop some popcorn and watch it again, then you'll definitely be able to do that as well if you find it that riveting. So hopefully you will enjoy it. Hopefully it will be something both entertaining and enlightening. And for those that attended live, we will have a special little item at the end just for you. So again, welcome to Intacct CloudBytes. Custom fields are better than chocolate. My name is Philip Massey. I'll be the presenter today. I am the owner and founder of Massey Consulting. And we're an Intacct dealer. We'll get a little bit more into that later, though. For those of you that are attending this live, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you're not seeing my screen, if you're not hearing me, there is a chat box in the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be monitoring that chat. So at any point, if something comes up, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're not seeing me anymore, anything like that, I will address that as soon as I see the chat come through. Okay? So let's get started here. So custom fields are better than chocolate, right? Now let's see where we get with this. So our agenda, we're going to go through an introduction, a brief introduction here, tell you a little bit about who I am and why I virtually stand before you today. We're going to talk about why you would want to use custom fields, which to me is probably one of the more interesting things for accountants to think of. Custom fields, you generally think of CRM systems or salespeople that just want to track every little thing about everybody. And accountants are pretty much straightforward in their little box, and they just want to get the financial statements out the door. Just let me get the financial statements out the door. You know, I don't care what industry they're in. I don't this, that, the other. I just want to get the financials out the door. Okay? We're going to kind of see why that vision needs to be expanded to include custom fields. We're going to show you how to use them in master records, in transactions, and in financial reports. We will be jumping into the software as we do this. So I'll actually show you how to create a custom field. I'll show you how to use that custom field and in reporting and in different things. We'll do a recap, and then we'll talk about the next CloudByte presentation. So the presentation for the month of August. We'll discuss that. All right. So introductions, and for those of you that have not met me, no, that is not me. It is probably somewhat close, but it's not actually me. Massey Consulting, founded in 2002. We are comprised of CPAs and accountants. We all have accounting degrees. We are all individuals who pursued accounting. At some point, we decided that we liked working with the software and technology aspect of the industry as opposed to bookkeeping or compilations, audits, taxes, things like that. As a company, we hold numerous technical certifications. We are, in fact, an Intacct Premier Partner, which is a level of commitment to Intacct regarding training, sales, service, customer satisfaction, all of these things. We were one of the original Intacct Premier Partners a couple of years ago. We did make Intacct President's Club in 2014, and if you'll keep it on the hush-hush because it hasn't been officially announced yet, we also made Intacct President's Club in 2015, but you didn't hear that here, and I'll try to strike that from the YouTube presentation if I can. But we did make it, it just hasn't been officially announced yet. We are also a Microsoft Silver partner in the Dynamics ERP. We started the company as a Dynamics GP partner. Been doing that for a number of years as well. We're ranked in the top 300 small businesses in the Southeast on a couple of occasions, and we regularly contribute to the NCA CPA blogs. A little bit about me. I was founded in 1970. Very small joke there. I do hold an accounting degree. I have been a CPA, a licensed CPA. As my wife says, I am certified or certifiable since 1994. Certified on Intacct, Microsoft Dynamics GP, Microsoft SQL. I've been a guest speaker at Intacct events, as well as a guest speaker at NCA CPA events. And again, I have blogged for the NCA CPA. But that's all the boring stuff, and promise that won't go back to any of that anymore unless you all really, really raise your hand a lot and beg me to, in which case I'm glad to. So why custom fields? Why? Why would you want to use custom fields in your accounting system? As an accountant, and again, I am a CPA, so I can say these kinds of things because I am talking about myself. Accountants are generally, as I said before, they're generally in the box kind of people. They're not thinking out of the box folks. And I don't want to upset anyone. I'm not generalizing. I'm not saying all accountants are boring, but you know, if you go back and think about to the original Ghostbusters movie many years ago, the guy that was the living in the building with the lady that was possessed, he was a CPA. He was an accountant. And watched that movie the other night. My daughter reminded me that, unfortunately, that he reminded her of me. So anyway, but accountants generally in the box kind of folks. So custom fields, you know, that's sort of something we don't generally find in an ERP system, and something that you don't generally do a lot of work with in accounting. However, I am here to tell you that that is short-sighted thinking. So what are custom fields? And everybody has a good idea of what a custom field is, but just to state it for the record here, custom fields are objects that you create in Intacct to track additional information that's not already housed somewhere inside of Intacct. So a custom field, for example, could be a industry for customers. It could be a location, a state, a city, a zip code. It could be any address type information for a location that you may have. You know, custom fields, they could be contract values added to a transactional screen as a note, you know, things like that. Intacct has numerous types of fields that can be created. Pick lists, text, numeric, date, large text area. There's numerous ones, and we'll see those as we get into the actual software. And that last screen, or that last section here on the screen is really important. Intacct gives you the ability to create custom fields on any screen inside the system. Any is in all caps because you have the ability to create custom fields on any screen. Item type, yes, you can create custom fields on the item type. The location dimension, yes, you can create custom fields on the location dimension. Order entry, yes. Order entry line items, yes. Items, yes. Any screen in Intacct, you can add custom fields to, right? So that really opens up the possibilities of what you're able to do. Now, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to create custom fields? Well, first and foremost, you may just want to track the information. You may want to know what industry your customers are in. You may want to know what their Dun and Bradstreet number is. You may want to know a checkbox for contract signed for a customer or something of that nature. So you may just want to track that information. However, you may also want to do some reporting. So custom reports. An example of that would be give me a list of customers by industry, and perhaps give me a total of the count of customers by industry. How many do we have in construction? How many do we have in government? How many do we have in technology? You know, you could create an industry custom field at the customer level and capture that information and get a report out pretty quick. You can use them in financial reports. And yes, financial reports is in all caps, because I think this is one of the best ways to use custom fields in the Intacct application. For example, sales by industry. So you could have, and I'll show you this one, an example of this one, but you can certainly have sales based on whether they're governmental versus healthcare versus hospitality versus software versus IT versus whatever it is. And you put that custom field at the customer level, and then whenever you make a sale to that customer, since that information is in the order entry module, and since it goes down to the general ledger level in GP, then you can get a financial report for sales by industry. You can also use it in smart rules and smart events. An example of that would be to prevent an erroneous transaction. And one example would be if you wanted to create a field, for example, for type of credit hold on a customer, or reason for hold, or different things such as that, you would then be able to say, use a smart rule that would say when you are creating an order in the system, if this customer's value for this field does not equal X, then keep them or display a warning message where you would not, you'd have to consciously choose to be able to go forward, or to just flat out prevent you from being able to create that order. So custom fields can be used in a lot of ways inside of Intacct. They are not there just for tracking additional data. Okay. All right, so why do custom fields matter? So, you know, again, I said it's one of those things where accountants, a lot of times, they're kind of boxed in, and you know, they think about their own little world here, and they don't really expand too much outside of that. But we want to encourage you to get outside of that box and you know, really extend the power of your dimensions, and actually, in some cases, save dimensions. Dimensions are a precious thing inside of Intacct. They are extremely, extremely powerful inside objects within the Intacct application. They're really the heart of Intacct. They're the thing that sets it apart from other programs in the market, how they handle them and how many they have and things like that. So custom fields can really supplement and in some cases save dimensions. So what do I mean by that? How can I extend a dimension? How about going from a standard income statement to a profitability by project region income statement? So not only are we doing profitability by project, but we've created a custom field at the project level called region. And then we use that region to create project groups and a project dimension structure, which we'll talk about both of those. We'll see both of those. And those can then be used in your financial statements to create income and expense profitability by project region dynamically based on the region you select for each project. You can also do quick things like revenue by industry, ROI by type of conference. So maybe you take the class dimension and rename it to event or conference. And on that class dimension, you put in a conference type. Is it a You know, is it a multi-day conference? Is it a single-day conference? Is it sponsored by this organization, that organization? Is it targeted to this industry? Is it targeted to this industry? And you put all that information in at the conference level on the class dimension, and then you can run financial statements. If you make a sale and you want to tie it back to a conference, you've got revenue generated from that conference. If you have expenses where you paid for the booth or the registration fee or those types of things, then you've got expenses you can tie to that conference. You've got revenue from the conference. So you can then really, truly know what your ROI is for that conference. And not only for the conference, but for the types of conferences. So if we go to HR-related conferences, do we make more money than if we go to information technology-related conferences or healthcare conferences? Which ones bring more money to our company? Really expands the amount of planning and analysis that you can do. Quickly determine which product line delivery methods are profitable. So you could add a custom field on the product that says perhaps cloud delivery versus on-premise installation. How can I save dimensions? Well, don't create a new dimension just for region if every location is tied to a region. So it can custom fields can kind of be used like a parent-child type relationship. So let's say you've got locations in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, and you want to track by the Southeast region. Well, you can definitely set up a parent-child relationship inside of Intacct for those, or at the location level, you can simply go in and you can put a region custom field, give it a list of drop-down values, Southeast, Northwest, Central, Southwest, Northeast, whatever you want to put. And then when you create those locations, you can tag the location to a region and then use those regions as the delimiters for creating your financials and things such as that. So I'll show you that. But that way you don't have to have a whole nother dimension just for region. Don't use a dimension for a treatment type if only one treatment is performed in a facility. So let's say you're a healthcare organization and you've got 10 facilities. Well, this one is for adults. This one is for adolescents. This one is for adults with this type of treatment. This one is for adolescents with this type of treatment. You don't mix and match those because of regulations. You can then use custom fields at the facility level to tag them as adult versus adolescent, to tag them as one treatment type versus another, and then get multiple levels of financial statements out of that one dimension. Okay, so bottom line is don't use a dimension for anything where its relationship to another dimension is constant. So again, treatments in facilities, if that's constant, then just make it a custom field at the facility level and don't use a whole nother dimension just for that. It's going to save a lot of data entry down the line if you only pick the facility and it defaults into a treatment. Okay? So using custom fields in master records. Got a couple of examples here before we get into actually creating a few. So here's a customer record. And this is actually coming out of our Intacct environment. So you can see the customers here, and we track industry. So this was a franchise industry customer, and we track ERP delivery method. And this is either cloud hosted or on-premise. So you can see here we've got these two fields. Now, what does that let me do? I can see sales by industry. I can see sales by ERP delivery method. Now, not only sales, but also gross margin, gross profit on those as well, of course, with cost of goods sold, things like that. I can see all those things at both of those different levels without having to create another dimension simply to house that information because I made it a custom field at the customer level. Here's an item. If we wanted to see sales by item by delivery method, I could say here it's either cloud hosted or on-premise. Using custom fields in transactions. So again, this is taken from our system, and I've blurred out a few things here so that you can't see all of it. But do notice that on the order entry screen, I've added a ticket number. So we have a ticketing system that tracks all of the customer support requests that come in from our customers, and it assigns each of them a ticket number. I've got a custom field on my order entry screen where we import all of this into Intacct, and it populates that ticket number field. Now, what I want you to notice is here we're looking at order entry for service invoices, and the thing to point out on this is that when you're looking at order entry or when you're looking at purchase order, the transactional definitions come into play, because I can have different fields on one transaction definition than what I have on another transaction definition. So here we issue renewal invoices for folks to renew their, Intacct license every year. And we also work with some hosting companies for GP, and we do a little bit of Gmail work as well. So here I can track the type of renewal invoice that we're sending out, whether it's a hosting invoice, a GP assurance invoice, or an email invoice for email renewal. And so again, I've got fields here on this one at the header, and I've got fields here on this one at the line item level. So you literally, really can put fields anywhere in Intacct. AP bill entry, just to show you this, here's a checkbox. Okay, if we have some expenses that need to be rebilled to customers, then I've got this just as a informational prompt only. I've got a list of bills inside of Intacct. The bill screen, I've got a list that only pulls in the ones that are ready to bill into the system, and so then I know which ones I need to bill back out to customers. Okay, and sorry, that should say using custom fields in financials, so I apologize for that miscue there. But here's one quick example, sales by industry. And, we looked earlier at the customer card in a system, in our system, set something up very similar inside of a demo company here. It just generated a really quick financial. So here's looking at different industries, and here's the revenue, services revenue by industry. So we build this much out for franchises, we build this much out for IT, this much for healthcare, this much for hospitality. And, we got month end, quarter end, and year end. So it really expands what you're able to do. And you could take something like this and you could put it up on your dashboard, and you could give it to your services department manager. It could be renewals by industry. You could give it to your, renewal manager, your customer service manager. It could be, by different locations. You can show it to the CEO of the company. You can do it by entity. You do it by any of the different dimensions where you might want to extend that value out some. So it's the ability to add custom fields and use those inside of Intacct is really, really tremendous. It's one of my favorite features of the Intacct system, the ability to add those custom fields. Okay. So enough chit chat, screenshots, etc. Let's jump out to the actual application. So I've got Intacct up here, and I am logged into a demo company that we have. The first thing that I'll do is take you over to accounts receivable and customers. So we're going to look here at customers for a bit. I'm going to go into Anthem College, MST. Actually, let's go to All Saints Episcopal School in Texas. So let's go to Edit, And I want you to notice here, NAICS code. So that is a custom field that we have added, as is this AMS expiration date. But if we look at this one, you can also see that it's got the red bar beside it. So not only have we made it a custom field, we've made it required. If I try to save this record without a value, I can't. So we could put in the NAICS code. It's something similar to that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's something similar to that. So we can put in that code for this All Saints Episcopal School, and then that gives us the code, the industry that it's in. All right. So how do we make a custom field? You'll need access to platform services, and then you should see custom fields. If I click on custom fields, of course, it brings up a list of all the fields that we have created in the system thus far. So you can see here, we can sort it by object. So we've added a couple to the customer. We've added some to the item. We've added some to the project. Order entry transaction detail, etc. So we've added quite a bit of custom fields here. Added 18 of them. If we want to add a new one, we just click Add. And let's say that we wanted to come down, and you can see, here's the list. I mean, there's credit card charges and other fees. There's items, journals, locations, entities, recurring GL entries, project status, project resource, projects, territory. You know, the list just really, truly goes on and on and on and on, right? So even users, as a matter of fact. So let's go to vendor. And then I'm going to go next. And then here's our data types that we can use. You can see all of those, virtually any type of data type that you would want to put in the system. And I'm going to come down here to text. Actually, I'm going to come here to pick list. Sorry, we're going to go to pick list. We're going to go next. And we give it a label, right? So for vendors here, I'm going to put a contract signed. Now you could do a checkbox for contract signed. You could do what some folks prefer here would be a yes or a no. Don't use the first value as a default. We're not too worried about sorting the list alphabetically. Make the field required. Now here, I can put my field on an existing Intacct screen, or I can create a new tab. So I'm gonna put this one on the additional information. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put contract info. Okay. And then I can say save. I can say save and new. If I wanted to do save and new, it's going to take me right back to vendor. And you'll notice if you do save and new, it kind of keeps some of the settings from your last run through of creating a custom field. So here, contract expiration date. All right. So maybe you've got contracts with vendors. Maybe you want to track those contracts. Maybe you want to receive alerts when you get to the 30 days, 60 days of that renewal date for that contract. Okay. Let's also come into project. We're going to go next. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a pick list again. And let's say we want to organize our projects by customer industry. Let's say we deal in about 3 main industries. We're going to deal with government contracts for customers. We're going to deal with nonprofit customers, and we're going to deal with technology customers. Okay. Next, again, we could make it required if we want to. Here, we can take out this field set, and I'm just going to put this on the additional info tab. Okay. All right, so 3 fields with fairly lengthy explanations, and I think we did that in about 2 minutes. All right, so if we go to accounts payable, we go to vendors, and I come down here to Adobe Systems, and I go to edit. Now, if I try to save this, it tells me these 2 fields are required. Okay. So I'll go over here and look down at the bottom under contract information, contract signed, yes or no, contract expiration date, June 30, 2016. Okay. So this could be one of those fields. You know, this could say, I can't enter a payable, I can't cut a check, I get a warning about trying to do those kinds of things based on the fact that I've got a contract signed or not in the system. So, you know, we can use it for that. We can also use it if I save this, for example. You know, you can come over here and you can create views, and you can create a view. You can pull in those custom fields into that view. See, here's my 2 custom fields, contract signed and contract expiration date. The thing to notice, and if you can't see it too well, I apologize because it is kind of small, but you see that little, it's a red box with a line through it here to the right of these. That indicates that it's a custom field that you created. So we can add these 2 custom fields. Let's say I don't really worry about that. I just want sort of a list here, and I'm not terribly worried about the city nor the zip. If I go there, I can continue. Let's see, contract signed, contract expiration date, next. I can also then select filter. So I only want to see them and sometimes they stick them in the midst of the other fields here. So contract, and it may be that I'm just not seeing them, but they should be in this list. There it is, contract signed equals, actually, let's say does not equal, not equal to, yes. Next. And sort the results, that's fine. And give it a name, no contracts. And here are all the vendors with no contract. Okay. I could export this list out to Excel. I could do a mail merge. I could send them a request to want to know why we don't have their contract yet. By that same token, we could create one where any contract expiration dates are within the current year and export that out and send that out to folks as well to get them to renew their contracts. So you've got the ability here within Intacct to create custom fields. That's one really small example of how they can be used. One of the other ones that I want to show you is, if you remember, we created at the project level we created a custom field. So I'm going to come in here to this plum implementation, PL001. And notice there's a couple of custom fields down here already. City, project city, and then this field here. But I'm going to jump over to additional info, and I believe, yes, here's one where we created customer industry. So we're going to tag this as a governmental project. I'm going to save it. Client, well, okay. Okay, so we got a smart rule that got me on that one. All right, let's try this one. And we do a couple of demos on these, a few of our demos on these. So let me see if I can add these folks into a nonprofit. Nope, looks like we've got a smart rule that is interfering with what we're trying to do here. So, all right. So let's go back over. Sorry about that. Let's go over to customers, and I believe we do have something here at the customer level as well. So if we go back again to All Saints Episcopal School in Texas, again we've got this NAICS code here. And as you know, each of these NAICS codes, they relate back to a particular industry. They're very fine-tuned in some cases as far as specific niches of industries, but they do relate back to the type of business that the organization is. So if you wanted to get gross margin by industry, you could use this NAICS code to get you there. What you need to do is, if you go under accounts receivable, we're going to use customer groups. We're going to start here at customer groups. Now, I've already done a few. I want you to see these. Here's convention customers, education customers, healthcare customers, and technology customers. And you'll see there's other groups here as well. Active customers, customers with a balance, inactive, non-taxable customers, things such as that. And these are all ones that are used for custom reporting. So if you wanted to get a list of active customers, if you wanted to get a list of customers with balances, if you wanted to create reports based on these groups, you can do that. And you can use these in, you could get a general ledger or trial balance if you wanted to, showing only general ledger transactions for customers with a balance. You could get a general ledger transaction, a detailed GL trial balance with all the transactions listed for healthcare customers. You could see all the transactions for governmental vendors. You could see all the transactions for summer projects versus winter projects in the system. So you can use these groups that you're making here, whether they're customer groups, project groups, vendor groups, item groups. You can use these groups in regular reporting. Reports that are written in the system or reports that you create as custom reports. Anything except financial reports. Okay. Now, if we take a look at healthcare, I'm going to click on edit here. We're going to go in, and you can see it's a fairly simple setup. What we've done is I've created a customer group called healthcare, and I'm saying that all members are included in this group that meet these filter criteria. And I've added these two codes into the system here. So 6211111 and 6211112 are NAICS codes that relate to healthcare. I think one is doctors and one is dentists. Okay, so if I put a customer, if I put that value in the customer's record, they're going to be included in this group. Now the difference here, I want you to notice, is dimensional structure is checked. And this creates a dimension structure with the same name for use in financial reports. So you're going to see a healthcare dimension structure. Okay, groups, dimension groups are used in what I call regular reporting, trial balances and things such as that. Dimension structures are used in financial statements. Okay, they can be the same or they can be different. So let's take a look at another one. Let's look at education. So 611310 and 611110 are both educational. I think one is university and one is secondary education, high schools and the like. Okay. Again, we've got the box checked here for dimension structures. So we've got our account groups. Now, we can also make account groups. We can make more account groups. We can define specific members of values in here. So if we wanted to say specific customers or something such as that, we could. However, if we do the all members, and then this gives us access to any fields that are on the customer record, including all the custom fields that we make. Okay. All right. So we can create a lot of these. We can create unlimited ones, and we can talk a lot more about groups and how they can be used. Right now, I want to go over to general ledger, and then underneath reports and dimension structures, and go to customers. So here we see, again, something similar to what we saw in account groups. Here's conventions, here's education, here's healthcare, and here's technology. If I go into healthcare, you can see that you've got some fields here for how to display it on financial statements. And then it's a customer group structure type, which means it's made up of customer groups. And then you have a list of customer groups, and you pick the ones that pertain to this. So our group that we created based on our custom field of industry that's at the customer level, if I put a customer in the healthcare industry, they automatically come into this healthcare dimensional structure. Okay. This healthcare dimensional structure is then rolled up into a generic industries dimension structure. So I can click here, and these are my different industries that I've created thus far. Okay. So we've got customer groups, and we've got customer dimension structures. So now, how does all of that work? Well, as I said, for customer groups, let's go to the GL Detail Trial Balance, and let's come down here to customer, and let's do a lookup. And so here's our individual customers, but here are our customer groups. So again, if I wanted to see transactions that involve healthcare customers, think about it for a second. I'm looking at general ledger transactions that correspond to customers that have been tagged with a custom field value that I created and input into the Intacct system. That's really powerful. That really can let you slice your data. So if you've got multiple locations and you've got characteristics about those locations and you want to see transactions based on those characteristics, all you have to do is create a custom field and create a group. Assign that value into those locations, and 15 minutes later, you've got your report, if that long. Okay. So you can use them in your reports, and notice you've got vendors. You know, we could come down here and we can look at active vendors, vendor balances, you know, things like that. You can go to projects and you can look up in-price projects, fixed-price projects, inactive projects, you know, things like that. You can come in here in the system. So you can use these groups, dimension groups, as a really powerful reporting restriction tool. Okay. If we go to general ledger and financial, so here's one of the areas where I find it really exciting, which a lot of people tell me is something I shouldn't find exciting, and I should probably get my head examined for finding it exciting. But I am an accountant and a techie at the same time, so these things excite me. All right, so what I want to show you is if we go to add, for example, and we want to create a whole new financial report from scratch. So let's just say it's revenue by industry. Okay. I'm going to leave it at accounts, but of course we could pick dimensions, and we could, the example that I showed you, had the industries going down the left side and the periods going across in columns. So we can do it either way. So I'm going to come over here to rows. I'm going to select my account groups, and I should have one called revenue, and I do, and I'm going to include that in the report. All right, so general stuff, right? Nothing really fancy thus far. We're going to go to columns, and if I go here to columns, now here's where it gets cool, because I want you to look right here. I'm going to make this current year. I want you to look right here. What does that say? Dimension structure, right? So if we go to customer, and then we pick industries, remember the industries has all of the other dimensional structures in it. So if we pick industries and we say to expand by dimension structure, then what this is actually going to do, it's really cool, because what it's going to do is it's going to take the structure that you create, it's going to say industries, under that one level down, hospitality, healthcare, education, technology, government, whatever you put in there, it's going to dynamically find those at the time you generate that report, and it's going to create a column for each of those that has values in it. All right, so what that means is if you come up and you begin to service a new industry, you just add it to your custom list of values, and you tag your customers, your new customers with that industry. It'll then be pulled into this financial statement into a column all by itself, automatically, without any further work on your part. All you have to do is tag the customer in the right industry. All you have to do is tag the right event to the right type of event. All you have to do is tag the right project, or tag the project to the right project group, project type, project region. Tag the item to the right delivery method. Any of those kinds of things. You do that at the source, item, project, whatever it is, and then the financials fall into place. The reports fall into place based on what you put in those custom fields. Okay? So it's not a lot of work. It's not another dimension that you have to remember to tag each time. It's really the setup, and then people do the transactions. They tag the sales to the right customer. That customer is in a industry, so that value goes into that industry. Okay? So it's really just about this simple. A few other things we would fill out in this particular screen here, but it's really just about that simple. Okay? So that shows you a little bit. In about 20 minutes or a little less, we went through and created 3 fields, showed you how they work, creating groups and dimensional structures. and then took you into reports as well as financial reports to show you what they are able to do in those. Okay? So pretty good stuff, pretty good stuff. So who cares? Why should you care about custom fields? Well, capture your information. Don't capture what your accounting software system lets you capture. Capture your information, what you need. There's lots of ways to report that information back out. You've got the views, you've got the regular reports, custom reports. Make Intacct work for you. You know, don't work for Intacct. Make Intacct work for you. If you need profitability by region, there's a way to do it. Analyze your financials. You know, take those little snippets and put them on a dashboard. Assign that dashboard to people so that they can keep track of sales by type or what have you. And then finally, who doesn't want to take longer vacations, right? Take those longer vacations because you got the system already spitting out those financials in every way that you would want them coming out. Okay, so the premise of this was that chocolate or that custom fields are better than chocolate, right? So I kind of have to address that. So indulge me here for a moment. Why are custom fields better than chocolate? Well, chocolate's high in calories, saturated fat, and sugar, right? Custom fields are not. Okay, so that's score one for custom fields. Custom fields can tell you which industries are the most profitable for your business. Chocolate cannot. Not even the little talking M&Ms. The smell of chocolate may increase theta brain waves, resulting in relaxation. That's a good thing, right? Okay. However, accurate, detailed financial statements may also result in relaxation. Chocolate, lastly, chocolate may make your waistline bigger, resulting in a need to shop, which results in spending money. Custom fields may result in better analysis of your business, saving you money. Okay. So I think, you know, as far as our little head-to-head combat here, we have definitely proven that custom fields are better for you than chocolate. However, I did promise you a little something for attending live today. So all attendees will receive genuine Hershey's chocolate. May not be this Hershey Kiss right here shown on this screen. But for those of you that did attend, there is a caveat down at the bottom, offer not valid in all 50 states or where kisses are not accepted from vendors. Read that as you may. Here's something that'll be coming your way. Our next CloudByte, August 25th, 2 p.m., business employee project. Which user do you need? So there's lots of different types of users in Intacct. There's questions about who can do what permissions do they have. We're going to go over all of that. August the 25th at 2 p.m. So mark your calendars. You will get invitations next week. If you're watching this you know, on YouTube and it's not August 25th yet, hey, mark it on your calendars. Send an email to Massey Consulting here. Check our website. Register for it. You're welcome to attend. Okay? So lastly, thank you. Do appreciate your time. Do appreciate you spending it with us today. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was entertaining. And I hope you found it useful. Again, I will be putting this out on YouTube so that you can view it later. You know, pop some popcorn, get a soda, sit down and watch it with your family and friends and discuss custom fields in Intacct and how they could benefit your organization. So I didn't see any chats or questions or anything like that come through, so I'm thinking that we're in good shape here. If anyone has anything and they want to contact us, please feel free. It's masseyconsulting.net, and you'll find a contact page as well as masseycloud.com, masseycloud.com, Both of those websites will come back to us. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to us. I thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.